But what about the Kohathites? We'll find out today on Daily Prayer. Hello and welcome back to Daily Prayer. Glad that you are with me. We are working our way through the book of Numbers. I know, exciting. And continuing on now in chapter 4. So let's go ahead and get started with a beatitude. Blessed are those who hunger for earth's oneness, for they will be satisfied. Join me in a prayer for awareness. All things come from you, O God, and to you we return. All things emerge in your great river of life, and into you we vanish again. At the beginning of this day, we wake not as separate streams, but as countless currents in a single flow, the flow of this day's dawning, the flow of this day's delight, the flow of this day's sorrows, your flow, O God, in the twistings and turnings of this new day. I invite you to be still and aware in a centering breath prayer. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Our reading for today is Numbers chapter 4, verses 1 to 20. Listen for God's word. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Take a census of the Kohathites, separate from the other Levites by their clans and their ancestral houses from 30 years old up to 50 years old, all who qualify to do work relating to the tent of meeting. The service of the Kohathites relating to the tent of meeting concerns the most holy things. When the camp is to set out, Aaron and his son shall go in and take down the screening curtain and cover the ark of the covenant with it. Then they shall put on it a covering of fine leather, and spread over that a cloth all of blue, and put its poles in place. Over the table of the presence they shall spread a blue cloth, and put on it the plates, the dishes for incense, the bowls, and the flagons for the drink offering. The regular bread also shall be on it. Then they shall spread over them a crimson cloth, and cover it with a covering of fine leather, and put its poles in place. They shall take a blue cloth and cover the lampstand for the light with its lamps, its snuffers, its trays, and all the vessels for oil with which it is supplied. And they shall put it with all its utensils in a covering of fine leather, and put it on the carrying frame. Over the golden altar they shall spread a blue cloth, and cover it with a covering of fine leather, and put its poles in place. And they shall take all the utensils of the service that are used in the sanctuary, and put them in a blue cloth, and cover them with a covering of fine leather, and put them on the carrying frame. They shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth over it. And they shall put on it all the utensils of the altar, which are used for the service there, the fire pans, the forks, the shovels, and the basins, all the utensils of the altar. And they shall spread on it a covering of fine leather, and put its poles in place. When Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sanctuary and all the furnishings of the sanctuary, as the camp sets out, after the Kohathites shall come to carry these. But they must not touch the holy things, or they will die. These are the things of the tent of meeting that the Kohathites are to carry. Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, shall have charge of the oil for the light, the fragrant incense, the regular grain offering, and the anointing oil, the oversight of all the tabernacle and all that is in it, in the sanctuary and its utensil. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, You must not let the tribe of the clans of the Kohathites be destroyed from among the Levites. This is how you shall deal with them in order that they may live and not die when they come near the most holy things. Aaron and his sons shall go in and assign each to a particular task or burden. But the Kohathites must not go in to look on the holy things, even for a moment, or they will die. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. All right. So we are continuing on with the sort of numbersy kind of part of Numbers, primarily focusing on the Levites, the priests, all of these sort of folks. And so today we're focusing on the Kohathites, which is one of the groups, one of the sort of tribes within this tribe. And what are they responsible for? And primarily they are responsible for carrying all the stuff that goes inside the tabernacle, but only for carrying. And we have sort of an overview of all the stuff that goes in here. We read about all of these end of Exodus. It's in, that's where it's all sort of laid out exactly. It's also referred to in Leviticus. But all of these things are really important for this overall thing. The first thing that is probably the most important is the Ark of the Covenant. You know, we saw it in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The sort of this box that contains sort of these special items for the presencing of God. There's the Ten Commandments. There is the budding staff of Aaron, though I'm not sure if that's in there yet. There's a jar of manna, stuff like that. And this is to be sort of the throne of God. This is where God's very presence exists in a special way. As we saw in the book of Leviticus, it is only able to be people are only able to enter into the Holy of Holies once a year. It's the high priest. After a bunch of other sacrifices, they go in. So the question is, then how do you deal with that if you are moving this entire thing every time? And it seems that the answer is the Holy of Holies, the sort of sacred space, is whatever is behind this curtain. So literally, they just take the curtain and they flop it over the Ark of the Covenant and say, okay, great. It's now contained in this thing, right? And then they put the poles in and they do all the things. We also have the table, which is really important. The sort of table in the center of the sanctuary, I think is what, maybe, I'm not sure. I don't remember what it's called, but there's a room sort of in front of the Holy of Holies that has all of these other things that the priests can go into at certain times. There is that table, which has the bread of the presence, which is part of why we have a table. And sometimes we have sort of a bread that is always there as sort of an idea of this bread of the presence. Great joke that really tickled me. One time at a CDC graduation, a kid came by and was like, "Oh, what's that bread for?" And I said, I don't even remember the joke, but it was a joke on presents. The kid didn't get it. Anyways, clearly not worth remembering. Anyways, that's why that's there sometimes. Then you have the candlestick, and this not only sort of provides light for inside this tabernacle, which, as we see in the instruction, has multiple levels of coverings, including leather. So it's pretty dark in there. And so there's this candle stand. Now, we have all seen a representation of this candle stand. It is what our Jewish siblings would call the menorah. That is lit during Hanukkah, because that is part of that story in Maccabees where they go in to cleanse the temple, which is a sort of more physical version of the tabernacle. And part of the sort of cleansing ritual is to light this lampstand, menorah, for 8 days, but they don't have enough oil. So anyways, so that's covered over, everything's covered over with this fabric, covered over with this leather, though you note that you may have seen the note that we don't actually know what this is. It's a weird word in Hebrew. We're not sure exactly what it is. It seems like it's probably leather. I've seen interpretations where it's maybe like duodong hide, which is kind of a manatee-like creature that's in the Nile and the Red Sea and stuff like that. Whatever it is, some sort of other covering. And so we see the priests go into this holy place. They prepare all of the things, Aaron and his sons, the priests who are able to be in there. They get everything ready, and now we're ready. Now everything is covered. Now everything is protected and sort of nestled all in whatever. And now the Kohathites will be able to carry it. We also see the altar, which would be outside of the sort of the tent of the tabernacle. This is where all of the burnt offerings are actually burnt. So anyways, so everything is sort of accounted for, and you have this clear sort of order of operations to a certain extent. The priests are only the ones that are able to be inside the tabernacle, so they get everything ready, covered, and then the Kohathites are responsible for carrying all of these things. You also notice that it's a different counting range that they are supposed to have. We have seen to count any man who is above 20 years old, who's able to fight in wars. This is all of the other tribes. You see of the Levites, they are supposed to count any male who is above a month old. Suggesting a very different kind of counting. And here we have yet another one. Anyone who is in between the range, men, of course, between the age of 30 and the age of 50. Now, this is partially just physicality. These people are responsible for carrying these precious items that go inside the tabernacle. And they're all made out of its solid woods. It is covered with gold. These are heavy items. And as we see, they're sort of like with the table, they put all the cups and everything on top of the table and then put the thing over. So it's not only heavy, but it's also sort of, you don't want to tip it too much. So I think that's part of it, is that these are to be men who are old enough that they can handle this, which implies that there is probably a long apprenticeship in this, right? Because you don't just start at 30 years old. I'm sure that, their kids are going to be there along with them, their sons. Again, we're patriarchal, misogynistic. It is what it is. But they're going to be watching their dads, their grandpas, their uncles, their, whoever, doing this work as they sort of learn this. These are all the things that you need to do. This is how you need to be careful not to go into the tabernacle before it's time, or else you're going to be struck down dead, all of these sorts of things. What does that have to do with us? Maybe less applicable. However, there is, as I mentioned before, a connection to what we see in our own sanctuary. We have candles, we have a table, we have sometimes bread. These items that make this a special place. And how do we care for them? And that, to a certain extent, is dependent on what tradition we come from. So in our tradition, we call that thing a table. Our Roman Catholic siblings will call it an altar, partially because of their understanding of what is going on in the Lord's Supper, that it is almost a re-sacrifice of Jesus. Protestants very much will say, no, it's not. It is this sort of remembrance of this great sacrifice. And so we present it on a table. There are rules about what you can do and what you cannot do. Again, our Roman Catholic siblings have very strict rules about people who are not ordained coming into the chancel area. You may not do that. You may not go behind the table. You may not certainly go behind the pulpit. Whereas in Protestant traditions, that's not the case. Of course, there's higher churches, or Episcopal or Lutheran, or some high church Presbyterian churches is going to be a little bit more, this is a sacred space, than some of your lower churches, all that sort of stuff. Why? Because there is sacramentalism, right? There is a sacredness to the space. It is different from other spaces that we occupy. There are these sort of pieces of furniture, pulpit. We have a baptismal font, table, that mark it as a special place. There is certain care that is taken for them, but partially also to remind us of who we are and whose we are. We tend to have a pulpit in the center because the word should take the central place. We have a baptismal font in view to remind us of our baptismal identity. We have the table to remind us whether we are taking communion or not, to remind us of this sacrifice that Jesus has made and the call that we have to be the body of Christ. These visible cues that tell us that we are in a special place. We don't sit in our sanctuary. We have pews, which traditionally are this special kind of chair that aren't just regular chairs. Marking that space as sacred, as special, to enter into this presence, or to enter into this place where we expect the presence of God to exist in a different way than the presence of God is other places, though we know that we can experience the presence of God wherever and whenever. But marking a special place, marking a special time, helps us as human beings, helps our bodies and minds to get into this place where we can worship. And in Numbers, the Kohathites are responsible for making sure that this is a place that can be whatever geographical place these people find themselves. As they move from one campsite to another, as they move on, as we will see from stages, there's all of this work that goes into making sure that this tabernacle, this tent of meeting, is in place, that God can always be in the center. And it reminds us of all the special people who make these things happen. In our churches, there's a lot of focus on pastors, preachers, music people, the people who are visible. But there are so many people behind the scenes who are making things happen, who are making sure that, in our case, that the audios and visuals work, that are making sure that there's bread for communion, to make sure that all of these other things work. And like the Kohathites, maybe it's not quite as sexy, maybe it's not as visible. They don't get to go and prepare all of these things, but their role is vitally important. So if you're one of those people, thank you deeply. And if you know one of those people, thank them for the work that they do to make sure that worship is able to happen on a regular basis, or all of the many things that we do as a congregation. I invite you to take some time to consider, to pray, to meditate, to journal. And when you're ready, we'll join our hearts together in prayer. All things are born of you, O God. We carry within us your light and your life. In the mystery of matter and deep in the cells of our souls, you are your longings for oneness, the oneness of the universe, vast and vibrating with the sound of its beginning. The oneness of the earth greening and teeming as a single body. The oneness of the human soul, a sacred countenance in infinite form. Grant us your longings for oneness, O God, amidst life's glorious multiplicities. I invite you to join in silent prayers for peace. Join me in a prayer of blessing. Blessings on the day born of night. Blessings on the earth, wedded to heaven. Blessings on the creatures adorned by angels. Blessings on our bodies, alive with spirit. Blessings on our minds, filled with dreams. Blessings on our hearts, opened by love. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you so much for joining me today for Daily Prayer. Join me tomorrow for some more. Like this video, share it with someone else, click on the subscription and the notification button. Go to our website, standrewspc.com for more information. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you happen to be watching on the day this comes out, it is Make a Book Day, National Barrier Awareness Day, National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, National Cosmopolitan Day, National Day of Prayer, National Day of Reason, National Mural Day, National Roast Leg of Lamb Day, National Tourism Day, Paste Up Day, World Password Day. You can watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, sign up for a daily email on Substack. Our liturgy today came from, Praying with the Earth, a prayer book for peace by John Philip Newell. And our readings came from the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition. Thanks for joining me. Have a blessed day. We'll see you next time. Bye.